In wargame tournaments, there's always been basically two truths, or let's say one and a half. The second one might actually not always be the case. One is they always take forever to complete. The other one is there's always got to be some sort of drama. And the current tournament, the so-called one more tournament, now had its own little bit of drama. I don't want to turn like I said I don't want to, and here I am doing exactly that. I don't want to like blow this at least too much out of proportion, right? It's like at the end of the day, like who cares? It's a freaking video game, right? Still, it's drama, baby, and I live for drama as long as I'm not involved. And actually, if you remember this channel from like the early days, which at this point, 9 years ago, you might remember a certain non-profit cancer research charity tournament, in which my team ended up getting healer rushed twice in a best of 3, I believe, which caused its own drama. But I'm not here to rehash that, of course. Just a little bit of background information. Either way, this tournament has certain rules, as tournaments should. Obviously, some basic ones, as it's supposed to be 40 minutes long, blah blah blah. But also rules about what is forbidden, such as playing with decks that you didn't send in, which is obvious. A sometimes controversial one being no healer rushes are allowed, and by controversial I mean there's always some players taking this to the extreme and being like, would this count as a healer rush? Would that count as a healer rush? Which I absolutely loathe, having organized tournaments myself before. And then there's one more rule that, well, personally I don't agree with, but at the end of the day I also don't really have a problem with, and that is no tank rushes. In fact, to be precise, let me quote this from the rules. Part 1 tournament rules, rule 6, spawn rushes are not permitted, such as the ones on Punchbowl and Battlefield. That's it. That's the one line that is presumably, from what I've heard, I've not taken a look at this yet, what this replay / and in big quotation marks drama is about. It's obviously not huge drama, just a little heated disagreements, but I'm here to milk it, right? So, either way, in the red, we have Jira playing Red Airborne. In the blue, we have Hato. What is this? Okay, I can't read blue and blue. Hato no Doki Doki Sanko Udan? Alright, let me Google this. This is some kind of anime. Hato no Doki Doki Sankokudan is an in-universe anime that is referenced in Cruelty Squad. An anime within an anime? Alright. It's not just too much. Okay, hold on. What is this opener? We have there's a lot of overlapping here. We have I've never seen such crazy overlapping of unit icons. It's an HVMS right in between those two Merkava 2As. We have 4 Merkava 2As, an HVMS, a Macbeth, and a Ramreki with presumably Macklin. So this is 40, 105. The squads inside are 15 points. That's 105, 210, 315, 355, 460, 565. These are like 50 or something. 600 and something. 740-ish. 800. There's like 170-ish points or something left in the bank if I count this correctly. Like, this is 400. This is another 100, is 500. Let's just round up as 600. 730. Yeah, about 200 points left in the bank for our blue player. And literally everything is going for down this road. Which I don't know. Technically you can never tell what is, or not always tell what was the intention of a certain player, but literally everything here is going for Charlie. And yep, that's where the extra points went, a Bass Measure bar, which is surprising to me. I would have expected a Kurnas. And, well, red spots literally everything, except for the spawn, like the CV and the FOB. And in all fairness, I think at first glance, obviously this doesn't look like much until you actually pay a bit attention to what is there, and then realize this is like 600 points that are coming towards me. Let's see, MiG-25 doing MiG-25 bull crap. This is irrelevant of the drama, but the MiG-25 PD is such a stupid plane. In Red Airborne, it's so much more stupider because you get that free veterancy, and with 8 HE, a critical hit will one-shot planes, right? Which I'm not sure if that's what happened here. Sometimes it's hard to tell because the damage calculation is sometimes a bit disconnected from the visuals. So maybe that second missile hit and it already shows the damage, but I think one of the missiles just critted, which is typical MiG-25 PD bullcrap. Okay, this stuff is spotted. The Machbert obviously deals with the helicopters. Let's speed this up. We don't need to do this at half speed. Machbert actually gets stunned by a few rocket bots, as it tends to. What's the reaction on red? Okay, this is just bum rushing through. Stuff is not being unloaded. And it rushes, or like it drives, fast moves. Fast moves. And now it moves to the 2-pointer. VPs. Machbets are pretty far behind. Somewhat far behind. VPs are. I'm not sure if VPs are the best, but in red mix, you don't really get the really high AP anti-tank helicopters. Both Akula. No. The Mi-28 should be non-prototype, right? I don't remember. Oh, look at that. That's funny. 27B is an interesting seed choice. I wouldn't have chosen that personally. But I think that's pretty much all this box down to. Okay. Is this a spawn rush? Well, I mean, here's the thing, right? Literally everything open for here, which typically you don't do in a 2-point rush. Or like if you rush for the 2-point, because typically you do want to protect this and this, right? Even if it's just one unit, you want eyes and you want to at least stop your opponent from just bum rushing through with like a single BTRT, Hachinana, MX, and what have you. But then again, at the same time, playstyles are different, right? Some people just take the risk if they think that their opponent wouldn't punch you or something, right? Perfectly valid. I just back in the day when Nuclear Winter, when the one side wasn't 2-pointers and just 1-pointers, people would frequently just send literally not a single unit there in the opener, right? So personally, right, if I saw that opener, or if I were doing that opener, or see like another player do that opener, I would assume, okay, that they're trying to rush for the spawn. Then again, of course, the opponent moved over to Charlie, but then, Charlie is close to the spawn. Was it truly a spawn push? Was it not? Did they on the fly decide, actually, let me get that foothold in Charlie when they initially wanted to do the spawn rush? Who knows? I'm just happy I'm not a tournament organizer here. Then again, if I were a tournament organizer, I would not put in the rule of no tank rushes. Spawn rushes, by the way. I would not put it in there. That is actually kind of not that easy to tell for me. Or if I were an organizer and I had that rule in my tournament, iceberg hours with no tank ammo left. I'll be honest, I'm not sure how I would rule here. Part of me does think that yes, this again, if I see that opening, I'm like, yeah, that's clearly going for a spawn rush, and they decided last second to do that. But again, in all fairness, there's no guarantee to know that. How spawn rushy is it if you push the 2-pointer that is so close to the spawn and your opponent just doesn't manage to properly defend and just has nothing left, right? Should you not be allowed to push further to the spawn afterwards just because, you easily or quickly dealt with what your opponent bought, and because of the rule you're not allowed to push in the spawn suddenly? Because it's like still 5 minutes after the opener? I don't know. If you held me if you had a gun to my head and forced me to make a decision here, I think I would rule no, that is not a spawn rush. But I'm like 60-40 on that. Or 65-35. Yeah. That's why I think if you as a tournament organizer say, or think, let's say, maybe not explicitly say, this is not what I wanted in my tournament, but it's technically not a spawn rush, and you shouldn't have said spawn rush, you should have said tank rush or something like that. But I honestly, I don't think I would let this qualify as a tank rush or spawn rush, but I also wouldn't have said spawn rush, I would have said tank rush, like I just said. But I'm not saying that this was not the intention of the player. I don't know. It's certainly spicy. Let me know what you think. Personally, I don't have a problem with these strategies. But I can also, it's also one of those things that I understand if people don't like that or don't want it in the tournaments. Unlike healer rushes, I despise healer rushes. At least in normal settings. If you're just freaking around with your friends and against your friends, it's as always like a different story, of course. But yeah, that was. And I'm pretty sure the CV dies here, right? Yeah, I think if the CV hadn't died here, definitely a position where you can come back from, right? You're playing Red Airborne, your opponent Silk does respawn, but could've, would've, should've, and Red Airborne just doesn't get particularly tanky CVs. You get some. So in this scenario, hold on, Red Airborne. Yeah, you do get a beam these. They have some armor, and assuming they wouldn't have given their position away with the autocannon, while those Merkavas still had ammo, could've, would've, should've as always, but hindsight is 2020. Then they definitely would have survived quite a few grenade launcher shots. In which case, Red Airborne would have probably won. Would have had enough time to get another hind out or something, kill the Merkavas, and then literally was what was on the field for blue just wouldn't be able to deal with anything. But that's how the game goes, right? Could've, would've, should've. Maybe those extra 30 points in the opener, or 20 points, because the cheap CV is 110 that Red was using, would have led to a loss from a different reason. But it is what it is. Let me know what you think. Was this a spawn rush? I would qualify this as a tank rush. Whether it's a spawn rush, different story. But can't have a wargame tournament without drama. Yeah. Let me know what you think.